However, you get that feeling sometimes that they're going to be on some of the same jobs your membership is. And you know, the human factor kicks in beyond the factor that I'm a union member of that, and you sure would like to see everybody on the job understanding what an abnormal condition looks like, how to react to it, and understand the safe way to do something, the right way to do something, because if they cause an accident, it could be catastrophic and affect those of our members that are out there working right alongside them.
Don't you think, Rick, and Deborah, I'm sure you do too, that if I'm not here to speak on behalf of management. I represent individuals who end up being hurt in the workplace. Having said that, I also have worked with good union contractors who are conscientious. When an accident happens, they're responsive, and I truly feel they're interested in doing the right thing. There are a lot of employers out there, though, that think that it's a good financial investment for them not to be concerned about safety, to cut corners, to say, no, I don't really need to do that, right up to the point where somebody gets hurt. And then I'm there representing them. Lawsuits are filed, their insurance premiums go up, and you know, it's I suppose like a lot of different facets or aspects in our society, until it hits you in the pocketbook, people aren't motivated to do the right thing. And maybe they don't have a bad heart, but they're looking at it in dollars and cents, and they're saying, I'm not going to do this because it costs me money. And if they thought about it and they committed to doing the right thing, they would learn that not even in the long run, in the short run, it saves them money to do the right thing. That's why those folks are calling you and saying, listen, I'm not part of the union because I'm saving money. I don't want to pay those dues, and I don't want to be, you know, subject to your rules, but I want my people to have your safety program. So it highlights for me the fact that these folks don't look at it the right way, don't look at it really as a good business investment.
And you know, more and more jobs that we're seeing now that are jobs that are federal dollar jobs or state dollar jobs, you're not going to get on the job with your employees. You're not going to even get a chance to bid on those projects if your employees don't have OSHA 10 or OSHA 30. And we do training where a contractor will get, I got a project, I got to start it Monday, I got to put 30 people on that project, and they all got to have OSHA 10 and none of them have it. What can you do for me? You know, we're fortunate to have a big enough program at our training center that we go 5 days a week, 4 nights a week, and Saturdays. And so our trainers, who are very good at what they do, spend a lot of time meeting those calls. But it's to the point now where we need help from some of the other bargaining unit training centers to meet some of those needs sometimes. We're training programs with like the operating engineers. We'll do some of their people there, do some of ours. We'll travel different spots in the state, try to catch those people. The union contractors want to put safe people on the job, but sometimes planning is not one of their best suits.
I just want to bring something out, and I know you agree with me because we were talking before the program started, but it just hasn't come out yet in our conversation, that there's this idea of safe people or training people to be safe. And a lot of what I read about, you know, continually in safety and health journals and everything, actually shows that most of the incidents that occur are not the worker's fault, actually. So while it's important, certainly important to do something like an OSHA 10 class, you know how to recognize the standards or whatever, that there very well may be something that the company just didn't invest in well, or there, you know, there was a big hole in the floor. I mean, you look at this, the window washer that you mentioned that fell. I mean, that person, as far as we know, the investigation's still going on, but it wasn't that they didn't receive a particular kind of training. So I just think that more unions need to be looking at root cause analysis about why did something really happen. So someone said to me once, well, look at Rick, he's not wearing his safety goggles. And that's a problem, right? Rick doesn't know to do that. Well, when someone actually asks Rick, it turns out that he's not wearing them because they fog up, Why do they fog up? Because it's so hot in that meat packing plant that in order to see anything, Rick has to take his goggles up on his head. So then the question becomes, could there be fans or ventilation in that plant instead of just stopping at the point and saying to the worker, you weren't wearing your goggles, you don't know how to work safely. So I just think that's a
That's a good point. And when I look at what Jim represents in terms of personal injury in that, I think he would probably agree that most of the time when you look at an event, it wasn't really the event that you were looking at, it was the process that led you to that event. Maybe it was poor training, maybe it was equipment, maybe it was material, maybe it was policies or procedures. All of those things are involved in an accident.
Absolutely, Rick.
It's never just the person.
In a workplace, especially if you're talking about the places you're familiar with, Deborah, or the building trades, construction zones are dynamic places. They're changing all the time. Nothing's ever the same. By definition, they're changing because somebody's building something. And it's never the same tomorrow as it is today. And you need to really be proactive as an employer, but as an employee too, and saying, listen, I'm going to keep an eye on this stuff. And it sounds corny, and everyone says it, safety first, and let's talk about safety. But after a while, you say that so much, it numbs you that you don't think of it. And whenever I've represented somebody who's been tragically hurt in a construction zone, crushed by an elevator that wasn't locked out, or falling through a hole, or somebody, part of a wall collapses that wasn't properly restrained or properly secured. It's because there are typically more than one cause, but it's because somebody didn't do the right thing, and it's usually a very, very simple textbook thing, Rick. It's not a complicated series of confusing events. It's usually a pretty simple thing that somebody just overlooked.
Yeah. And at the training center, one of the points that we really drive home is not only to demonstrate how to do it right, but understanding why you do it that way. Because to have people just understand that you put the square peg in the square hole all the time and not understand why you put the square peg in the square hole or square or whatever you call it, you really didn't teach them anything. You turn them into robots that can't react and can't look at, something's not right here. So it's important not only to teach them the right way to do it, but make sure when they walk out, they understand why they're doing it that way.
How do you advise people to be preventive, or to have a preventive approach, I guess, to go in and say, so they can identify some of these things before they ever become an issue?
I use the example of the stopwatches, but what we're seeing across all different industries is there's a lot of speed ups. There's a lot of pressure to rush. There's a lot of, we can get that job done with just 2 people now instead of 5, right? So part of when I think about prevention in different work sites is actually having those hard conversations. Could our safety at this place be better if we yet again hired 2 people like it was 10 years ago? So I think that, management and labor working together in that way to look at the big picture is, to me, the best prevention. But I don't know.
I know in the healthcare industry, having talked to unions there, that they want to be sure there's enough people. I mentioned in the introduction that people injure their backs trying to lift patients, all that, and they need. There should be 2 people instead of 1. And I know the Nurses Association, the Minnesota Nurses Association, has been very active around the staffing issue and saying we actually want the ability to not take in any more patients into a ward if it's going to be, it's not only bad for the patients, obviously, if you don't have enough staff, but the staff themselves could make a mistake, someone could get hurt. And so it's that kind of, it's almost about really understanding your job, isn't it? All the aspects of your job.
The people I represent, by and large, and there's always exceptions to the rule, are